But more important than that, people who have a 3G or a 3GS or even an iPhone 4, they are all talking about an upgrade for one major feature. The voice assistant in this, Siri. Does it really work? A lot of people are talking about the fact that maybe with Indian accents it doesn't. And somehow Apple seems to be saying the same thing too. Watch this.
A low-key approach and launch this time around for iPhone 4S launch in India. The only thing making a noise was its voice assistant, Siri. Siri has become extremely popular around the globe, but in India, it seems to come with a caveat. People have addressed their concern of Siri not working properly with Indian accents, and Apple too gave a hint to the fact that it wasn't really pushing Siri in India, although it's an indirect reference. The Apple India website's iPhone 4S page is exactly like the US version, but for one difference. Apple doesn't mention Siri anywhere on their Indian site. Apple's US site is filled with screenshots and videos of Siri, but the voice assistant doesn't find place in the technical specs of iPhone 4S in India. To be fair, that's the same in other countries as well, but each of those countries may have an accent issue as well.
Frankly speaking, there isn't anything of that sort. Sure, we have got some pronunciations which may be a little different. But in general, when we speak English, we tend to speak a language called English.
No, I don't think Indians have an accent. I think it's a big misconception, to be honest.
I do think there's something called an Indian accent, considering that, ours is probably the most neutral accents out there. It's not as exaggerated as, say, the American, the Australian, or the British accent.
I don't think we have an accent at all. I think our accent is pretty cool. I think the kind of English that we speak is a lot more legible than the kind of English that people speak in England. I think it's easier to understand our accent than anybody else's.
Yeah, I guess they do. I mean, there are a lot of stereotypes around, but I guess there are a lot of, there are Indians who talk really well in English.
Here in India, we don't have a problem with an Indian accent. We have a problem, if at all, with an Indian dialect or the usage of it.
I didn't face too many problems. I didn't understand a couple words that I said, a couple road names, for example, and all that. But I only used it for the first couple of days because after that, the novelty kind of wore off and it just became easier to just do these things on the phone instead of asking Siri to do it.
To be honest, in the beginning, I did have a few problems with Siri. It wasn't understanding my accent. But later on, it did get along to my accent or whatever you want to call it. And I guess it adapts to your accent in a few times, like when you use the phone and you use it for your commands and everything. It gets used to it.
Certainly Siri works very well with our accents, but you see a lot of problems in terms of it does not help you search local searches yet. That's only a US only feature. So that is one thing. Secondly, Indian places, Indian names, that's where Siri gets really confused.
The thing about when people say that Siri doesn't understand the Indian accent, that's not really true. What it has a problem with is when we use words or use phrases that are not normal English. For example, using the word prepone, it doesn't exist. Yet people use it quite a lot over here. People don't use it at all in the US or in the UK. So obviously a system that's supposed to pass what we are saying over here is going to have a problem with that.
NDTV's Cricket app. Android and iPhone. Fastest scorecard, special analysis, and much more. Download free. ndtv.com/apps.